Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another live session from a hotel room. As always, I'm trying to keep these lives going as often as I can. So I will do them and have done lives from many different locations over the last few years. And so, yes, you'll definitely see the hotel setup today. And so, why don't we just get started and dive right in as people are hopping into the stream? Thank you so much for showing up. We are in a holiday week here in the United States, and so we'll see basically if we get a good audience today or not. But obviously, I wanted to show up and be here for everybody today. So, uh, I did not have an opportunity to produce a video yesterday. If I'm ever not going to produce my normal Monday content, I will just always throw a quick note into the YouTube community link just to let you know if I'm not going to be able to get to a video. The plan is always to get to it, and I did not get to it yesterday. So I really want to dive in pretty quickly today. We have a hard stop at 10:55 Pacific time, and then I'm going to be transitioning over to Holly Lee's channel, and we'll be doing a live session as well. I should have grabbed that link before we started, so at some point maybe I'll grab the link and I'll throw that in there for us. But I'll be going back-to-back live sessions, so this one will be pretty standard. We'll just do a Q&A, and then we'll jump over into Holly's at 11 a.m. Pacific time today. So before diving in, obviously, let me know where you're visiting from. If you have any questions, comments, anything that you think is going to be valuable to add, please do. I anticipate probably a smaller audience this week just because, again, it's the holiday week in the US, but still wanted to go live. And I thought it would be really fun to go live back to back. I don't think I've done that before, so it should be fun. Down below, you'll see practiceinterviews.com/AI. It's just a great opportunity. It's just a great opportunity to be an early adopter for our AI tool. So what does being an early adopter mean? We are bringing people slowly onto the platform for free. We're going to ask for some user feedback. There's going to be some good giveaways for that feedback. And then you are 100% guaranteed to get an early adopter discount on the AI tool when it comes out. Obviously, I'm continuing to do one-on-one practice interviews, one-on-one negotiation coaching, and I have my interview mastery course. If you have not signed up for our email list, the first Black Friday sale went out today, and then we'll send out a couple of additional Black Friday offers through Black Friday and Cyber Monday. So please keep an eye on those items as well. If you like what I'm doing today, smash that like button. If you've never subscribed, I do new original content most Mondays, and I'll let the community know if I'm not going to, like yesterday. And I go live 10 a.m. Pacific time every Tuesday. We have a hard stop at 10:55 today, so I can go over and join Holly Lee on her channel. So I'll keep noting that because I just want to make sure I get to all the questions. Again, going to be a slow live today, just based on the holiday week. So for everybody here, I hope you enjoy it, and thank you as always for being here. Let's go ahead and dive in. Okay, so hey Jeff, happy Thanksgiving to you as well. I hope you get the chance to spend some time with the family. What's your favorite type of holiday meal? I actually am traveling, and I'm with my wife's family right now, and I would say I'm definitely a stuffing person. That was always my favorite, and continues to be. Thanks for asking. So we lost 2 of 7, and I feel like that may be important, but let's just dive into it. They said when applying to design-oriented companies like Apple, think about using your portfolio to show your design and information architecture skills. The visuals and layout are quite jarring. Okay, so they didn't like how you were visually representing it. Well, I agree that they have a point, and I can try to improve the visuals. It seems like they didn't even bother looking at the content or use cases, which was my focus for the UX writer content designer. Okay, so that was the role you applied to. Do you have any advice for streamlining a UX writing portfolio? For background, this is the same portfolio I used to pass the technical round at Google last year. Okay. And then It's currently in Google Slides presentation format, but it isn't optimized like a website. I'd like to create one with better information architecture. Should I pay one with expertise to help? Okay. And then I know this was only one person's opinion, and I know Apple can be very political, but it was a bit of a wake-up call. Not sure if you've ever done videos on portfolios, but any advice? Okay, so with a portfolio, creating a website, um, is a recommendation. I'm not an expert in the space, but a website is likely going to allow you to present your information in different ways and potentially a more diverse way for how you share information. It's going to be interesting to see different people's opinions, and opinions are going to vary greatly from organization to organization. Now, if it's Apple, remember, Apple at its core is a design company. And so they are going to nitpick and be more particular than any other company in regards to design. So it's a really, really critical item for you to keep in mind. Since we lost one of the comments, if you want to come back in and add that for context, but absolutely creating a website is probably a good next step. Paying somebody to do it, that's really up to you to decide whether that's something you want to do. I don't believe that that's necessary, but maybe you can get some feedback from people on LinkedIn or people in this community on this live right now on best practices, because it's not really my strong area, but I do recommend creating a website for sure. If you have any more questions or you want to come and bring in that last comment, please do. You interviewed 2 weeks ago, and I consistently follow up with a recruiter who keeps saying that he's awaiting feedback from the interviews. This week, I was told to wait 2 more weeks. Is that normal? Okay, let's go to comment 2. Should I lose hope that I didn't clear it? If so, why don't they just say I'm rejected? Am I missing something here? This is creating anxiety during the holiday season. Okay, so let's go back to this first comment. It's not uncommon for it to just take a long time to get interview feedback. I mean, do I agree with that? No. I think that recruiters should be able to hold interviewers accountable. And then if those interviewers don't get feedback in a timely manner, they should be able to escalate. And that's what I did and have done in my previous jobs. There's no excuse for not getting interview feedback in. There's just no excuse for it. Now, secondarily, what I think is likely happening is that they're waiting on feedback. The feedback that's come in to date has been good, and they don't want to let you go, but they're also probably interviewing others. So yes, they would just let you go if the feedback was not headed in a positive direction. So that's the positive piece. I'm never just going to leave you dangling because it's going to be more work for me. If you're not a fit, I'm just going to say, hey, look, it wasn't a fit. I'm sorry, and move on. So that's the good news, is that the feedback that's come in so far is leaning positive, and now you just have to wait, continue to check in. The fact that they told you to wait 2 more weeks could be something, if you're based in the US, around the holidays. It could be, again, one of the reasons for that may be because they have other candidates in process and they really just want to see what everybody does. I always want transparency and good communication and clarity from my recruiter, but you're not always going to get that. So what I would say is just stay a little bit on the positive end, because so far what I'm hearing is leaning positive. And yes, it can be a little bit anxious. One of the most difficult items is the waiting part. That's the most difficult for any candidate. It's just constantly waiting. So keep us posted. Let me know if you have any additional questions. Based in Vancouver, amazing. Still on my bucket list. I always love to talk about locations because it's just a fun topic, but I'm on the West Coast of the US and have never been to Vancouver and had started planning a trip to go last summer and it fell through. So it's definitely on the list. So looking forward to it. Hey, Sean, thanks for being here. And I just want to quickly apologize. Please let me know if there's any audio hiccups. In my travels, I actually broke the mic cord. So I have a professional mic, and I guess it didn't make it safely. So I'm just going off the computer audio. It should be good enough, but it will not be quite as clean and clear as using a professional mic. Oh, and your question going back is specifically to Google Cloud. Yeah, and this is super common, right? Again, I just think that this is not just Google specific, but there's just a lack of interviewer accountability. And that is the world we live in. So, it's just you can take a little bit of ownership to say, can you push on what is the policy? Do you push on interviewers? Do you push on their managers? Saying that in a very, very kind and friendly way. But in my opinion, if the recruiter's telling you the truth, they don't know how to do their job, because if interviewers hadn't given me feedback in a week, I'd go to their manager. And then if their manager wouldn't do anything in a week, I'd go to their skip lead. And yeah, maybe they would get upset with me, but I would just be following what I saw as protocol. Interviewers shouldn't interview if they can't provide feedback. And the longer it gets away from taking the notes and actually cleaning up the notes and getting it in, it's going to impact the decisions. And so it's something that I'm pretty passionate about, as people have probably seen from previous live sessions. Hey, Jeff, how do I find out if a position is open? How do I find out if a position which is open is a fake position and will be an internal hire? I have a screening coming up, and is this a valid question? Um, Okay, so it's absolutely a valid question to ask me. I just obviously want to provide the most clear communication that I can. It is not a valid question to ask anybody internally. And I know that might be silly for me to say that, but it's my job to clearly communicate everything as much as possible. So um, I don't believe it's a fake position. I always think positively that companies don't do that. Do they do it? Maybe, but usually if they're going to post a job, it's a real job, and they actually are interested in you and your candidacy. Do we know that that's not 100% true? Of course, but you may ask a question such as, in this process, am I going to be competing against just external people, internal people, or both? Are there a lot of internal applicants for this role, or is it mostly external applicants? You can ask some simple questions like that may just be good from a data gathering perspective. How many applicants are in the process? Am I one of 3, one of 5, one of 10? Sometimes they'll answer these questions. They're really not confidential. If you ask me those questions in the process, I'd say, oh yeah, I probably have a couple of internal candidates, but it's mostly external. We're looking probably at about 7 candidates right now. Obviously that could change. But again, those aren't confidential pieces of information. I hope that helps. Tina, it's a good time to go to Canada now, hockey season. Um, Ironically, I will say that I am in the US right now, but I'm on the US Canada border. So this is really funny, but I will be in Canada for dinner tonight. So very funny that you said that. But of course, Tina, I think you know everything in the world. So thank you so much for being here. If you don't know, Tina is our rock star ABP who really fought through a difficult process to land at Google. Audio is great. Okay, thank you so much for that. Yeah, there's a richness in the mic that will be lost without the mic, but yeah, I broke that cord. It was actually good timing. I needed to get a new cord anyway, so it was meant to be. Hey, Corey. Howdy, Jeff. I'm a massive stuffing person too. Favorite part of Thanksgiving. Yes, and when the stuffing is not great, it's very disappointing, but I really like the stuffing and then the leftover stuffing. It's obviously really fortunate to both be with family and have the opportunity to sit down and eat a nice meal. It's been 2 months since final interview at G for a specific role. I followed up last week, and recruiter says team is still making their way through interviews with others. What should I do? Okay, so now that we're hitting the 2-month stage, it's fair to ask your recruiter for a little bit more clarity and transparency. Specifically, what I mean is, I think it's okay to craft an email and say, I sincerely appreciate all your support thus far. At the 2-month stage, I'm really hopeful that you can provide a little bit more transparency for me. Obviously, if you're still keeping me engaged, I did good enough, but were there certain items that were missing? Um, is there a certain timeline to potentially wrap all of this up? I think you can ask for just a little bit more transparency because that's not fair to you to just keep you lingering, lingering, lingering. And I'm not saying that this is possible, but if possible, I would be going and interviewing with as many other companies and trying to get other offers to push them to make a decision one way or the other. So, really, really important that you are asking them for a little bit more transparency. After 2 months of a final interview, if they just keep you lingering, that is an absolutely horrible candidate experience if they're not providing more transparency. It's just stress and anxiety and this lingering thing that you're waking up with every day. So I would push a little bit. Just make sure to reread it a couple times. Make sure that the tone is really, really nice. And if you have any concerns, have somebody else review that email for you or run it through ChatGPT or whatever is going to make it helpful, just so you're confident that the information that you're asking for and that transparency is just it has the right pitch and tone. I hope that helps. Hey Jeff, happy Thanksgiving to you and all the attendees of this live session. Besides Robbie, who mentioned about interviews earlier on the call, has there been much activity in GCP in recent weeks? Yes and no. So again, it's kind of interesting. My my business of interview coaching has gone with the ebbs and flows of hiring. And obviously I coach quite a few people who are trying to get into Google. I have seen a number of CE roles going through, especially lately, so that the customer engineer roles. I do know that TAMs have been put on hold. And of course, if anybody wants to confirm that, that's technical account managers. It sounds like TAMs have been put on hold till next year. I'm extremely confident that those roles are going to open up because um, it's an easier role typically for them to hire. It's actually slightly lower paying role than other GCP roles. So I've seen some decent flow within GCP, and this is going to continue to be a revenue generator for them. And Google's not going to back away from this. So I strongly encourage anybody trying to get into GCP to continue trying. But has it been slow for the last couple months when they did that kind of partial little freeze? It's been a little bit slower. Yeah. Do you have any information on the rate of entry-level mechanical engineering roles in big tech? The rate. Maybe I would just, Sean, just re-ask this. Do you have any information on the number? I think that's like rate could be also like percentage of entry-level mech roles. But I don't really have a pulse on that. Now, I definitely have coached MEs, mechanical engineers in the past. They're great roles, and there are definitely some entry level roles for those types of positions. But what's going on in big tech? I haven't had an ME client in a while. I don't feel like I have a great pulse on it. And maybe you can come back and tell us what you're currently seeing in the market. Well, hello, Holly. So this is a great pitch to Holly and I will be going live in in 42 minutes. Holly and I will be going live together. So it's just a quick note to also say that I'll only be going live for about 55 minutes today. And then join Holly and I. We're going to be talking about everything big tech. And obviously, it's such an interesting time to talk about big tech in the holiday season. And so anytime we have these downtimes in 2023, and Holly and I can both attest to this, that it's been a really slow hiring year for big tech. When we have our downtimes, we'll talk a little bit about what it's going to look like during the holiday season. As more questions come in, I'll just go right back to the questions, but just something to note that we'll talk about those items in the downtime. Specific to Google hiring process, I heard that the interviewers are supposed to provide hire or no hire the same day with additional detailed feedback due in a week. Is this true? If the above is true, if interviewer said hire, how does the recruiter get detailed feedback help with the interview process? Trying to understand the G interview process here. Okay, so what you're saying is pretty much true from the way I understand it, right? So basically, what's going to happen is we're going to have an interview together. And then at the end, just based on my overall feeling from that time spent with you, from those 45 minutes with you, I'm going to make a recommendation. So I'm going to recommend strong hire, higher, leaning no higher, strong no higher. I'm going to make one of those recommendations, but it's just a in the moment recommendation. Then I'm going to go back, I'm going to clean up my notes, and I want to confirm that that recommendation is a good one. So meaning like I go back through the notes and I'm like, oh, you know what? Actually, reading back through the notes, we should bump this from a lean hire to a hire. This candidate's answers were really good. Or maybe I'm writing up those notes and I went from lean hire to leaning no hire because I thought, oh, well, they didn't really tell me how they did things. There wasn't a lot of good detail in there, et cetera. So the amount of time they're supposed to have feedback in is, yeah, I think it's more like 48 to 72 hours. Typically, it tends to linger more like a week. But you have a pretty accurate impression. And there are two things that I do like. I love the scoring mechanism because numbers are a little bit more subjective, like on a scale of 0 to 4, which was Google's old model. But actually just saying from a mindset perspective, this is a candidate I would hire. I like that better as a scoring system. And I think it's something that all companies should use. But yes, they're supposed to give that initial score, then go back, clean up the feedback, and give a final hiring recommendation. That's correct. I hope that helps. Hi, Jeff. I passed the interviews for an ABP with G, thanks to you, but I'm still waiting on a team match since over a year for the freeze. In your opinion, what's the future of G's ABPs? Okay, so right now, Tina, if you're still on here, please jump in for Anna and maybe provide her some context there. ABPs are always going to be an in-demand role. And so it's an administrative business partner for anybody who's not familiar, but there's always going to be a need for that assistance, right? Especially at the leadership level. So I think the future is pretty good. Even in a good economic time, Tina could speak to this if she's still here. 6 to 12 months is not uncommon for ABPs to be in the team match stage. It is slow. Yeah, it's incredibly slow for those roles. So I think there's a good future state, but obviously you've been waiting a long time, and I understand that can be incredibly frustrating. I'll see if Tina wants to chime in if she's still here. Hey, Jeff, husband found out HM wants him for an L6 Eng manager. Amazing. Eng manager 2 role at G. Recruiter never shared his exact feedback, hire, strong hire, etc. results from his interviews. Okay. That's common, by the way. She did say he had very strong feedback on the system design loop and did well on the others. She mentioned that HM will be writing a statement of support. Is that typical for an L6 role? It's very typical. He's nervous after reading on Blind that statement of support may indicate a weak spot. He does have 2 letters of recommendation from current Googlers. He hopes to hear back by Monday. Okay. And thank you for your invaluable content. He plans to book a negotiation consult if he gets the good news. Okay, amazing. And then this is GCP, so wondering if there's any movement. Awesome news. So let's just go back. I just want to make sure I cover everything. The statement of support should be really favorable. Like what the hiring manager is looking to do is to identify a weak spot and then say, okay, well, this weak spot showed up in the interviews, but that's why this isn't important. Or Bob found a weak spot here, but then if you look at Sue's feedback, Sue saw that as a strong point. So the statement of support, this is the hiring manager's opportunity to write a statement to hiring committee convincing them why your husband is a good fit. So the statement of support is going to be very, very supportive. Is HC still a bar that he needs to get through? Absolutely. It's something that he cannot control. Those letters of recommendation, they're not going to be considered at this point. Now, if they're internal references that people gave, sometimes internal references can change the tide and be really positive, but usually they're not going to push it one way or the other. If you have more questions, please let me know. But that's really, really good news, and I'm here to help with the negotiation when he does get through HC. Hey Jeff, did you notice any positive change in the job market, or are they still hiring with caution, thoroughness, and reluctance to compromise? Well, I haven't noticed a positive change in the job market with like an uptick in hiring. It's just been an incredibly slow year. And I have my prediction would be that 2024 is going to stay the same based on all the economic conditions. Obviously, if I had that crystal ball, it would be amazing. I don't know for sure, but I think 2024 will continue to be pretty slow. Um, Hiring with caution, yeah, hiring with caution, thoroughness, and reluctance to compromise. You would hope that all companies would not compromise in their hiring decisions because the cost of a bad hire is usually about 20 times 1 year's salary. I did a video of that on my corporate YouTube channel that I think is pretty interesting, but the cost of a bad hire is extremely expensive. And so every company should be thorough and should not compromise with their hiring. I hope that helps. And yes, happy Thanksgiving to everybody celebrating in the US. Hey, Jeff, happy Thanksgiving. Is Google hiring for PM? I think we were talking about program managers, PGMs and TPMs, technical program managers. You're in the team matching process last year and everything froze. The recruiter I was working with is not in the org anymore, and you were not handed off to a new recruiter. What would happen to my application now if I reapply? I'm assuming that last year's performance will not be accounted for. Well, if you were in the process when everything froze, then and you never got a survey saying that your application had been closed, take down that address now. I'll just leave that up for a second, but if you were in process and you never got any closing of it, like your recruiter was laid off and they're no longer there, or you never received an email for a survey, it means that your application is still open. And I'm sorry to hear that you didn't hear back from anybody. I think this was a really, really epic failure on their part when recruiters got let go, that it didn't seem like there was a good plan in place for candidates. I can't say that 100% that they didn't have a plan, but it seems like they didn't. But reach out to that email address again. That's if you never received a survey. If you received a survey, it means that your application got closed out. And by the way, that's not acceptable either, because you should have heard back before receiving that survey. Let me know if you did get that survey or didn't. But if you didn't, that's the email. That is the email address you should be using, and you should hear back within 24 hours. Hey, Jim. Hey, Jeff. As a background, this is my first time attending your live session. FYI, I purchased your interview course last year, prepped for weeks, and looped with GCP and PM, but did not make it through the loop. Okay. Also, they told me the rec was frozen, and I had made it, and I've been in limbo for a while. Now, on to my current situation in question. I was recently riffed from Oracle Cloud Infra after 7 years at Oracle. Can you or Holly provide some help on how to create an elevator pitch? Okay, so on how to create an elevator pitch. Okay, so Jim, I'm going to come back to you a little bit. One of the items that I would recommend from an elevator pitch perspective is really focusing in on the positivity, and so whenever I talk about especially career transitions, I just go to the positive. I say, I had a great experience at Oracle. Unfortunately, I was part of a riff, and I'm super excited to be here because I see my skill set aligning with the role in ABC areas. So much of the tell me about yourself, why the company, your elevator pitch, you're really looking to align 3 critical ideas, concepts, reasons for why you're a fit for that position. And that, to me, is the greatest elevator pitch you can give. So your elevator pitch should actually adjust and adapt every single time you're speaking to a company. So it should pivot a little bit. You can definitely use ChatGPT for that to say, hey, what are the 3 areas where my resume and this job description align the most? And then when you're talking to the critical stakeholders, you're really highlighting and calling out those 3 items. I hope that helps. Obviously, thank you for purchasing the course. I mean, I think the really important item there is just continue to prep, dive in, and put in the time. But with that kind of background, you're going to get interviews. That's not going to be a challenge. So that's the really good news. Please let me know if you have more questions, though. Quickly, we are at the 30s. I am going to do a quick pitch on my services. And then again, just a quick note to everybody who's here. I'm going to be ending at 55 past the hour right now, wherever you're watching from. And then I'm going to jump over to Holly Lee's broadcast. I don't have that link up right now. So if you just go to YouTube and type in Holly Lee, she'll pull up. Holly, I'm kind of known as the Google guy, and Holly's known as the Amazon woman. And I would say that both of us would say our coaching is not that company specific, just that we know how to coach on interviewing, but I digress. So again, we have about 55 or 25 minutes left. If you have not gone to practiceinterviews.com/AI to sign up as an early adopter, we're taking early adopters. It means that some people are going to be allowed to use the platform for free and provide feedback, and we're going to give back to those people. Every single person who just puts in their email address will get a really big discount when the product goes live finally globally. We just want to get some user testing and feedback before it's opened up to everybody. I still do interview coaching, negotiation coaching. We have my interview mastery course. If you're not on our newsletter, just going to tell you, we put out a couple of special offers today, and we'll be pitching a little bit through Black Friday, Cyber Monday. So go ahead and check out those details. If you like what I'm doing today, smash that like button. If you've never subscribed, consider subscribing. I go live 10 a.m. Pacific time every week and new original content every Monday. If I'm not going to provide original content, I'll leave it in the YouTube community tab that I'm not going to provide original content. Sorry, I am rushing. I definitely want to make sure we get to all these questions as quickly as possible. Okay, you have not received the survey. So definitely, again, I'm just going to throw that up there one more time really quickly for you. Google-candidate-support at Google. You will hear back within 24 hours. Okay, let's go to Corey's comments here. Sorry, I have a little cold. There's a little Kleenex here. Okay, so Jeff, as you know, I'm earlier in the process of looking for my next role. I have an offer on the table for a role outside of tech. It came a lot quicker than expected and seems to have a deadline to accept. I'm also in the process with a couple of other companies, one in big tech and one tech adjacent. But I'm curious your thoughts on your approach to this type of situation. I feel like I might be too early in the other process to pass up this offer. The pay on the offer is lower than the other two, but it's somewhere I'm familiar with and I have a chance to grow. The other two are also contracted and the offer is FTE. Any thoughts? Okay, let's tackle all of this. So there's a few different options you have. Yes, I think that just knowing that you're a recruiter, like this is a really tough time for recruiters. So you have an offer in hand. It's something you should strongly consider. Obviously, negotiate that offer to the extent that you can. If it's a little bit of a smaller or medium-sized company or like not a well-known entity, you want to be having a more direct conversation with the recruiter saying, I think we're really close. Can we just get to X? And by the way, I've seen some offers getting rescinded from companies for negotiating. So I need to know that I'm not putting this job at risk by negotiating. We need to start introducing that just because of some previous or some recent case studies that I've had personally. So FTE over contract, well, if the contract roles pay well, I'm less rigid there. A lot of that depends on benefits, family situation, et cetera. So there's a lot of other factors. The last thing is you can always try to push the start date out. Maybe you push the start date out to the beginning of next year. Interview with these other companies. If one of the other offers comes through and it's much stronger, you decline, you burn a bridge, and you ultimately do what's best for you. Not everybody likes that coaching, but the reality is that layoffs happen. These companies aren't going to look out for you when their bottom line is impacted. So we have to look out for number one. Come back and let me know if you have any other questions. Hey, Jeff, I've had 6 interviews so far with G for a TPM position. Heard from the recruiter on Friday that they would like to schedule me for a coffee chat with the skip level manager. Okay. She indicated this discussion would be the deciding factor to move forward with me. Is this normal, good, something to be concerned about? All right, Glenn, it's very, very normal. So what you want to do, I think most people know, if you could see the setup that I have in this hotel room, it's pretty funny, but I always make sure that I stand during the lives. Why? My voice has better pitch and tone. I have a little bit more energy. I'm taking up a little bit more space. I recommend, if you're physically capable, to stand. Great energy, enthusiasm, a nice smile. Again, if this is being done via video, if it's phone, then you don't need to worry about those things quite as much, but typically they're done via video. Great answers to tell me about yourself, why you're interested in the company, why you're interested in the role. Be ready for behavioral questions, hypothetical questions. Those are less common, but be ready for them. And then when it comes to questions, I like asking about them. What do you love about the company, your role, the team? How can I best support you as my skip lead? How would we be engaging to make sure that I'm delivering on your key goals? So we make it very focused on them. It's just the missing piece of the puzzle for most people with these informal chats at the leadership or skip leadership level. People love talking about themselves. Get them talking about themselves. You can ask tougher questions later, but try to keep everything in the questioning space in a positive tone. Positive will keep people up and it will be the end of the conversation, likely. So just no negative questions, really challenging questions. Really make sure you're trying to engage with them and learn a little bit more about them. I hope that helps. Very helpful. Okay. All right, Jim. Good to hear that. Okay. You have a doctor's appointment, so you have to drop off now at Holly Lee. Please connect with him. Okay. Sounds good. Hi, Liz. Thanks for being here. Signed up multiple times for the earlier adopter, but have not heard back. When do you think it will be ready? Yes. So this was a little bit of a tricky, I can just tell you as an entrepreneur, sometimes it's tricky. And one of the items that was tricky was the early adopters sign up, and you want to create a good email cadence to let your early adopters know what's going on. But with that combined with that coming out and then the Black Friday, Cyber Monday sale, I just really didn't want to inundate people with emails. So we'll be sending out some messages in December to the early adopters and anybody who as we slowly allow people to come onto the platform, we will be sending direct emails to those people as well. So I promise that you'll hear something soon, Liz. Thank you for that. And Liz, just while you're here, we had an earlier question about creating a portfolio that maybe you can answer for us. Maybe that person hopped off, but there were some questions about, Google Slides versus a website. I encourage doing a website, and maybe you can it would be great if you can come in and just leave a comment like, what is the best platform? How are you setting it up? Maybe a couple of items. I don't know if you're willing, because we did have somebody talking about it, and I know that you recently went through a long process of creating a really strong portfolio. Hey, so Jeff, circling back to give appreciation on your advice. Amazing. I reached out to my recruiter, just showing gratitude and asking. A few days after, recruiter came back with three team match calls, which is great. Gave my availability, but now over a week, no response. Maybe the roles got closed. Any thoughts? Regardless, glad to learn this trick. Okay, amazing. So now what you want to do is maybe even a message today, such as, I know it's the Thanksgiving holiday week. You may not even be in the office. Just wanted to double check on those 3 team matches. And here's my availability for the next 2 weeks or 3 weeks. So you're proactively giving your recruiter something of value, which is your updated availability, because then it just removes the back and forth and your recruiter just has an easier path for scheduling those items. One of the recommendations I make with setting that availability is just set an availability that is always going to work, right? Like, so maybe you're always available 3 to 5 p.m. Pacific, Monday through Friday. And again, it doesn't have to be that way, but sometimes providing consistency across those days can also be valuable. I hope that helps. Sorry you were late. You had to pick up our turkey. Okay, well, got to have priorities here, Liz, for sure. So no, absolutely. Just always great to have you here. And thanks for showing up every week. Great, thanks. Okay. You push the start date out and have negotiated up the pay, what I feel like is the max they can do. With your tips, it sounds like my best option is to accept, see the interviews out in case there's potential there. I'd really hate to burn any bridges, but like you said, we really have to look out for ourselves in today's market and world. Yeah, I don't like it, right? I don't like burning bridges, but again, we see it happen time and time again with these company layoffs. And remember, they're going to do what's best for them and their bottom line. We have to do the same for us. It's Our careers are short. We typically don't have that many jobs. I think on average, maybe 7 to 10 jobs. And so you want to make sure of those positions that you're just making really, really good decisions. So yeah, my recommendation I think would be to accept, definitely see the other interviews through, and then see what happens. But on those other ones, hey, maybe you go a little more baller on the comp negotiations because you've already accepted this other role. So if you're not 100% sure on these other roles, maybe you really push on the negotiation piece if they want to push forward with you. I hope that helps. Yes, Caleb. There are literally 4 other people in the office right now. People are out of office. Yeah, and it's going to be um, super, super slow this week. I mean, I'm really excited with the live attendance today because it's just you come into these weeks and you just literally don't know what's going to happen. So, yeah, expect slow responsiveness this week. And then if the expectation is that everything will be answered on Monday, and maybe you do follow up this week and you don't hear back, let it linger till like Tuesday afternoon, Wednesday morning. I know that's hard to do, but if we inundate this week and then on Monday, it just may be a little overwhelming. Give a little bit of space into next week if you don't hear back, even if it's not Wednesday, maybe Tuesday of next week. Hey, Jeff, when interviewing for roles, is it a good question to ask about job security long term? What other questions can we ask in this economy as we'd be willing to leave our secure job? Any considerations when picking job positions for job security? I don't believe that anybody can. Well, all right, let me take a step back. I mean, you can ask. I wouldn't ask that to like the hiring managers or the interviewers. You can ask that maybe to your recruiter and say, like, what's the average tenure for employees at this company? What's the average tenure for a like or similar role? Have you seen any trends in hiring going up and down? You can ask kind of questions that are a little bit on the exterior, a little tangential, but like I wouldn't really dive in too deep and say like, hey, like what's this job security long term? I just think that that can be a little bit of a pokey question. So you could ask it, just make sure the tone is really good. Now, other questions in terms of this economy, I think the other questions I just mentioned could be really good. You want to understand if the company is trending flat, declining, or increasing in terms of their number of jobs. So questions like that could be really, really valuable. I hope that helps. Okay, great question. Thanks, Jeff. Depending on the job, of course, but assuming text-based UX, UI dev, website with 3 to 4 solid examples that show complexity, process, and are clear. Okay, and are clear about, looks like we'll get the second half of this, but this is really good. Yeah, we'll wait for that to come in. Appreciate it, Jeff. Tips and video support have been instrumental. Awesome, Corey. Well, I'm glad you got the ball rolling so quickly. It's tough for recruiters these days. It's really, really tough for recruiters to find jobs. Jeff, as usual, your videos are amazing and you are a great help. Thank you so much. Happy Thanksgiving. Thanks for being here. Keep us posted on how things are going. We're here to help. Okay. Hello, Jeff. Thank you so much. You have a hiring manager interview next week. I am primarily a back-end engineer with some experience in ML. Is a software engineer, machine learning. Okay. Okay. Let's go to the second one. I have a good grasp of theory, but I lack the relevant experience to back it up. Any advice on how to tackle this situation? I'm really interested in the role. So Sometimes, especially with the hiring manager, you're trying to get really good alignment in regards to, is the role actually a fit? You don't want to take a role that's not really strongly aligned, but if they push towards items that maybe are a little bit outside of your comfort area, you have a little less knowledge in, it's really easy for you to say, here's my experience in X area, and I'm happy to tell you about a time that I learned a recent technology really quickly. Giving those use cases or examples of times where you've learned or picked something up really quickly can be extremely important for a hiring manager to hear. But we're not trying to say that we can do things we can't say, because some people will then really poke into what you're saying. And then if we don't have that depth or level of expertise, it's going to show up. So I hope that that really answers your question. I would say if they're looking to interview you, get into it, be as prepared as possible to answer anything. And then if they really throw something at you that you don't know, you can say, look, here's my little bit of knowledge in that area. I want to be really clear that I have some knowledge here. And of course, if at any point you want an example of a time where I learned something quickly, I'm happy to provide an example of that, whether it's technical or non-technical. So you're showing how you can come in, what is your process for learning quickly, because maybe that can help them overcome a little bit of anxiety or anything that might be coming up if your skill set isn't 100% aligned. And by the way, that's okay. Most people are going into jobs where the skills aren't 100% aligned. And I actually want you going into a role not knowing everything, because people who have to learn to get the role right typically are going to do better. People who come into the roles and they literally know everything, they get bored quickly and they actually don't do as good of a job, believe it or not. So sounds like you're in a good position, but with the hiring manager, be candid, but also make sure that you're showing how you could be successful in this role. And again, sometimes that's correlating it back to something that you've done in the past. I hope that helps. Okay, so we're out of questions. Again, I have a hard stop here in 8 minutes, but we still have some people on the live, so I'm happy to hang out for a little bit longer, take any additional questions while we have a little downtime. Big tech holiday hiring, there's still hiring going on. You shouldn't stop trying to get in front of positions. The process might speed up and go quite a bit faster. But yes, as we get into, let me pull up the calendar really quickly here. So if we're looking at December, I'm just doing this. So as we look at December, definitely that week of the 11th, that's going to be it. And then everything's going to shut down for those last couple weeks. So you're hoping to get into the process, get through the interviews, but there's still a few weeks left there. And I can tell you, even in these big tech companies, like I hired people into December pretty much every single year. And typically Q4 was a really good quarter for recruiters because a lot of hiring managers were told, use it or lose it. So you don't use that headcount you have, you're not going to have it next year. So there's some motivation oftentimes for hiring managers to want to use up that headcount. Yeah, you're welcome. I'm glad it was helpful. Okay. It was expected that we would be a little bit short today. So let me go into my wrap up. If anybody has any additional questions, again, we have about 6 minutes left. I'm happy to answer any last minute questions that might come in. But first things first, if you haven't signed up for practiceinterviews.com/AI, that's our early adopter tool. We are going to allow some early adopters onto the platform for free to give user feedback, test it out. Every single person who signs up as an early adopter will get a significant discount when we launch the product globally in the paid version. So we're really, really excited about that. Still conducting one-on-one practice interviews, one-on-one negotiation coaching in our interview mastery course. Check your email. We have some really good Black Friday and Cyber Monday deals. I just basically do this once a week. Sometimes I'll give deals randomly here or there, but definitely check those out. If you like what I did today, smash that like button. If you've never subscribed, consider subscribing. I'm going to just roll out and answer any last minute questions that come in, and then I'm going to hop off and I hope for anybody in the US, you're having a great holiday week and spending some time with family or friends. And for anybody outside of the US, I hope you're just having a great week in general. So I'm just going to go ahead and answer these last questions and then hop off. Thanks so much for being here. You interviewed at Google for a TAM position. Your YouTube videos on interview prep came in really handy. Okay. You got through all 4 interviews, but unfortunately, recruiter got laid off and you haven't heard back. The replacement recruiter did tell me I received positive feedback. Okay. Should I mention other roles that I applied for at Google when following up with the candidate support email you shared? No. And again, we'll just go back there. When using this email address, just say, I was in the process for this role and it hasn't closed out and I haven't heard back. That's really the point of this email address, is if you haven't heard back, but you're still in process and that role hasn't been closed out, we really shouldn't be talking about other roles. The goal of this team, the way I understand it, is to make sure that no candidates fall through the process for a specific role where they were interviewing, but they haven't been closed out. That's the way I understand it. I got to know that the right recruiter mail for my friend is he got an interview invite from the company that I'm interested in. How to cold email the recruiter requesting for an interview. Okay, cold emails to recruiters are really tough, but let's talk about it. You could say, I came across your email address. This may be coming as a little bit of a surprise, but I attached my resume for X role. You'll attach a link to the role. Here are 5 bullets for why I'm a really strong fit for the role. Here's my email address. I know you're emailing them. Here's my email, my best phone number, my LinkedIn, and here's my availability over the next 3 weeks to discuss the role. If you're interested in connecting with me, feel free to just contact me during any of those available times, etc. So you're calling out all the reasons why you're a fit. You're providing your resume. You're providing all the information. Do not make them do any work. If that email leads them to having to provide some sort of follow-up or ask you some questions, you're making it harder on them. So just make it as easy on them as possible. Because I have less than 3 minutes, I'm going to start speeding up my answers pretty quickly, okay? I just want to let everybody know. Hey, Jeff, thanks for the insights. I was trying to join your Slack community, but the link on your website, please email me at jeff@practiceinterviews.com. My Slack link troubles continue, and so if you ever have a challenge, I just have a lot of challenges with my Slack links, and it's probably user error. jeff@practiceinterviews.com, and I'll put you right in there. Just wanted to inform people here, I actually cleared my interviews last year. My team matching resumed only this week. Okay, thanks for that. That's so if anyone else is in the same position, don't lose hope. Thank you so much for that. Really important. Excited for the AI tool. Signed up as an early adopter. Amazing. Okay, I'm actively interviewing now. Past screen interview, but she said she can't go through L4. Can you give you a shot at L3? Now I'm confused. Should I go at L3 or prepare and come back for L4? It's really a question of experience and interest and motivation, right? If it's an L3 and you think the comp's going to be better than what you're earning and you see it as good potential, then it's an opportunity to move forward. But you don't want to down level yourself right on the front end. L3 should be 5 or less years of experience. If you have more than 5 in the like or same position, it's probably not a fit. But if it's less than 5 and you think the comp is good and the company is good, you should consider it. Best way to reach out to a hiring manager to switch internally in a current company as a promotion. Informal chat. Hey, I just want to learn a little bit more about your team, etc. But if you're looking to just switch internally to just get a promo, I wouldn't go in with that dialogue. You should be meeting with a lot of internal hiring managers on other teams just to learn more about their team, how you can be helpful with them, and maybe not ask about the role in that first conversation, but maybe in a second conversation. But in the first conversation, if they ask, why are you meeting with me? I just want to really learn about teams. I want to make a big impact. And obviously, I'm always keeping my eyes open with all teams for the future. I hope that helps. Happy Thanksgiving. I'm thankful for this group and lovely feast we're going to have. Liz, thank you so much for showing up every week. Really appreciate you. I'm going to hop off. I'm at my stop. If any additional comments you have, please leave them in YouTube comments. as this live closes out, and I'll go back and answer them. Thank you so much. Take care, and I'll be back next week. Jump over to Holly Lee. We'll be live in 5 minutes. Thanks.